Hi, very good afternoon. I hope I'm audible. This is Navin Joshua. Uh, just to give you some context of what we do, we are one of India's largest D2C enablers. To make it further simple, we are at the Shiprocket Forum, SHIVIR, great property. Last few years, we've been happy to participate. Shiprocket has democratized the entire supply angle of it for the consumer. We, in our own small way, are doing it on the demand side, which is the front end, which is technology, digital, scale with profitability. So yeah, that in a nutshell what GreenHonchos does. The problem that I'd like to talk about is scale at profitability. The one thing is, can these be said together at all in the India e-commerce scenario? From where I look at it, the answer is a yes. It's not easy though, no matter how easy we try and make it with all these fantastic enablers, including us around here. It only makes it easy, but lots of hard yards to be done at the brand's end. Some of the problems listed here, the fragmented tech ecosystem, huge issue. Brands have to make these decisions for themselves. When you went to the marketplace, you didn't have to make any or all of those decisions. Let's say an Amazon or a Myntra made those decisions for you. And that's where the 1.0 of B2C for brands was there. But the 2.0 is where brands have to manage their own D2C as well as a complementary channel for their businesses. So along with those problems come higher cost of acquisition, the challenge of returns, the challenge of low conversion, ad hoc decision making to be made, like shipping charge laga dete hain, COD hata dete hain. You can only do that with your own D2C. And that's why you do it. A marketplace doesn't allow you to do all of that. And so you focus on what is the controllables there. I think D2C makes a lot more parameters controllable. Brands that do it better or businesses that do it better are able to still manage the scale and profitability. We do believe that it's a full e-commerce loop or a full stack that solves for the problem. A lot of brands or businesses come to us and say that the problem is ROAS. Can we, or can anyone, or can GreenHonchos deliver a higher ROAS? I think the question or the larger challenge is ROAS is actually not something that you can change. And it's quite awkward while I say that. ROAS is a lag indicator. It's a derivative metric. X divided by Y is equal to ROAS. The points of fixing is actually the X and Y. In the entire funnel, there is click-through rate right at the start, which is a large journey of what we call as the content to commerce narrative. A lot of brands do great storytelling and talk to us as consumers. I think brands that do that get a higher CTR. In that entire race for ROAS, which is the end metric, they already start a little ahead in the race because their CTRs are higher. Then is the entire catalog itself, which are the other two metrics that come before the eventual ROAS, which is add to cart and cart to conversion. Add to carts are largely dependent on the merchandise itself or the assortment. Especially in large category plays or assortment plays like fashion, lifestyle, home, jewelry, etc. A huge aspect is on the add to carts, because if your add to carts aren't great, then your cart to conversions cannot be great because it sits immediately after that. So those are the metrics that we talk about. Last but not the least is conversion rate. The ROAS many a times is dependent on a metric called average order value, which is very catalog driven. But conversion rate is not. Conversion rate is itne traffic se itne order hue ki nahi. So many a times, even the agency side is given a target of ROAS, whereas the targets need to be on CTR, A2C, C2C, and conversion rate that has a business impact on return on ad spend. Last but definitely not the least on this part is the PMF itself, the product market fit. During post-COVID, obviously a lot of revenge buying, a lot of latent buying potential or propensity, a lot of businesses got to their 0 to 1, which could be, let's say, an MRR of 0 to 30 lakhs. For someone, it will be 0 to 50 lakhs. For someone, it will be 0 to 1 CR per month, depending on which category they were in. And the businesses or the brand owners felt that, hey, you know what, we are on to something, the 0 to 1 is done. But now, it's settled down, that 0 to 1 itself has changed. So, businesses have begun to realize that we are not getting those returns on the ad spends. The consumer is behaving differently. Now, suddenly, there's a lot more focus on storytelling, a lot more story on narrative, a lot of story on differentiation. So, in that journey, a lot of businesses are hitting that tipping point and actually changing businesses, partners, teams, saying that ROAS come hai. Whereas the product market fit is really what needs a little more redefinition and re-engineering. So that's the other thing that I'd like to say. One more big change is really that entire piece of marketplace versus D2C. I think there was a big time where this decision had to be made. Our humble submission from where we see it is, in the last 6 to 12 months, that's completely changed. The marketplace also has begun to do a lot of full price merchandise sale. It's no longer just about D2C having to be able to push that. A lot of new season, a lot of new arrival or new product launches have begun to happen even on the marketplaces. The content play has become completely democratized. Earlier, the content play was only on D2C. Now it is on marketplace as well. So I don't think it's an either-or situation. Obviously, some categories are more adept for scaling on marketplaces versus D2C. But otherwise, I guess it is more about the customer having more options and having an extended aisle. For them, it's just another channel of sales. It's more advisable for brands to be at all places that they can be online. Yeah, I think there's just one last point. I have only a 10-minute slot. I think a couple of minutes left. The last is efficiency, which is post-order. And here is where I think when I talked about the kings of the digital space, in the supply chain side, obviously, Shiprocket's done it all, from fraud detection to RTO to checkout optimization to even MarTech through their set of acquired companies. That entire space has a lot of margin to be made. We know a lot of brands that are only delivering up to 60% of their orders. 40% is in leakage. And no matter what, I think ROAS can't solve for it. So I think there's a lot of profitability to be seen even below the line rather than top of the line only. I just have a few quick snippets to rattle off in terms of metrics before we close from here. So where's the North Star for D2C in the e-commerce space from where we see it? Portals like Amazon or even Myntra actually have a conversion rate of nearly 7-8%, even northwards in some categories and probably a little south in some. D2C brands, depending on niche versus mass versus single category versus multi-category, are anywhere between 0.5 to, let's say, 3%. So what's the headroom? The headroom is to make D2C more efficient. There's at least 3x more possibility there to actually move your conversion rate up. Now, that's all margin business that is waiting to happen with the growing internet penetration. The other is about what we hear, and this is probably a little more true for categories like fashion, lifestyle, etc. 82% of all the sales, as per a recent survey, creditable, happens from the product showcases on the home page and on the first landing page. So the assortment, it also includes the fact that the first 40 products of each landing page deliver about 82% of all sales. So lots of work to be done from a brand's end in just getting the assortment right through the user experience. Last but not the least, in the tech side, only one point here, which is every 1 second drop in the time to interactive, which is a core web vital, impacts 8% of conversion rate overall. So none of these efficiencies to the P&L or scaling with profitability actually focuses too much on return on ad spend, which I feel is a metric that is flogged deadbeat beyond a point. Our encouragement to businesses is always to look at it more as a holistic, integrated approach of tech and digital and looking at the consumer experience across channels. So that's our part from GreenHonchos. Thanks so much.